They told Denzel Washington it would be a policy discussion on immigration and national identity. They promised civility. Denzel agreed because he believed in the conversation. But tonight, he came prepared to expose truth. Denzel took his seat across from Stephen Miller on a national news panel. Miller, the former advisor known for hardline immigration views, leaned in confidently. The host greeted them both. He said, "Gentlemen, welcome. Tonight, we discuss America's future, borders, identity, and policy." Denzel nodded. He said, "Thank you. The conversation needs honesty." Stephen Miller nodded. He said, "Glad to be here. We'll talk policy." Host said, "Stephen, let's begin with your position, citizenship, merit-based immigration. Your critics say it's too restrictive. Your response." Miller said, "I believe in protecting jobs, protecting safety. We need limits, not open borders." Denzel said calmly, "Limits, yes. But at what cost to our identity?" Miller said, "National identity thrives when law is enforced." Denzel said, "Law enforced, but not humanity erased." Miller leaned forward. He said, "We enforce law to preserve the country." Denzel said softly, "You talk about preserving, but you don't know what you preserve." Host said, "That's strong." "Stephen." Miller said, "I know exactly what I preserve, sovereignty." Denzel said, "Sovereignty without compassion is empty." Host said, "Let's talk specifics. Denzel, you've spoken up for dreamers, refugees. Miller says they aren't vetted. Your response?" Denzel said, "We vet. We secure. We welcome. There's no contradiction." Miller said, "You can't welcome everyone." Denzel said, "No. Just those we choose, based on potential, not fear." Miller said, "Potential isn't policy." Denzel said softly, "Policy without humanity betrays who we are." Host said, "Stephen." Miller said, "What betrayal?" Denzel paused. He said, "Pretending you understand this country without knowing its heartbeat, its diversity, that's betrayal." The tables turned. Miller's smile faded. Host said, "You're accusing him of pretending." Denzel said, "Yes. Pretending you understand America while ignoring its history, its struggle, that's cowardice." Miller bristled. He said, "I speak for true security." Denzel said, "Security built on exclusion isn't true security. It's fear disguised as policy." Host said, "Things are heating up." The temperature changed. The audience sat forward. Denzel said quietly, "Stephen, don't pretend you understand this country, unless you've lived its promise, its pain, its purpose." Miller's chin tightened. The dialogue halted. The moment cracked open. The cameras came back on, and the atmosphere had shifted, charged, raw, and demanding. Stephen Miller bristled in his chair. The host leaned in, voice measured but tense. He said, "That was direct. Stephen, don't pretend means you're not giving the country its full story. You have a response." Stephen Miller's eyes narrowed. He said, "I speak from experience. I served in government. I have seen the consequences of porous borders. I understand this country. You see, Denzel, it's about protecting citizens." Denzel sat up straighter, voice steady but intense. He said, "Protecting citizens shouldn't come at the cost of forgetting the citizens whose stories built us. Immigrants, refugees, descendants of slaves. You speak of protecting citizens as if America is frozen in time." The host said, "Stephen, is immigration policy erasing America's roots?" Miller said sharply, "No. We're preserving it, by securing it." Denzel said softly, "Preserve it by understanding that America is not just land with walls. It's the people inside those walls. It's voices you reject." Stephen Miller's jaw tightened. He said, "We're not rejecting voices. We're regulating the process." Denzel said, "Regulation is fine. But when your process silences cries, what kind of security is that?" Stephen Miller's voice rose. He said, "I support merit, culture, integration." Denzel said, "Merit? Culture? Integration?" Who decides what merits? Who defines culture? And what if someone doesn't look or talk like you? The host said, Stephen. Miller said quickly, we need standards. Denzel paused, eyes locked on him. He said, standards are good, but standards that screen out the stranger, the unknown, the different, they screen out our own past. A hush fell. The moment stretched. Denzel continued, voice measured. He said, centuries ago, people looked like me and said I don't belong. So don't pretend you know what America is when you reject someone who doesn't fit your mold. Miller's posture stiffened. He said, this isn't about race, it's about order. Denzel responded, voice calm but piercing. He said, you talk about order, but America thrives on chaos. The chaos of voices, of dreams pushing through walls. We're built on conflict, not control. The audience shifted again. The energy crackled. The host said, this is deep territory. Stephen Miller said, I want secure borders. Denzel said, secure borders, okay. But not locked hearts. Not locked minds. Miller's voice grew defensive. He said, that's idealism. Denzel paused. He said, idealism born from experience, not from pencil and policy papers. The host interjected. He said, Stephen, do you feel cornered? Miller looked away briefly, then back. He said, I don't feel cornered. I feel challenged. Denzel said softly, good. Because understanding this country means being challenged by it. The studio lights softened, but the tension remained. The host cleared his throat, voice deliberate. He said, gentlemen, we're nearly at time. Final thoughts. Denzel. Denzel leaned forward, voice steady and warm. He said, I came here tonight because America is not just policy or process. It's lived experience. It's the promise we chase and the mistakes we remember. We build nations with empathy, not fear. Stephen Miller sat back, face unreadable. His voice was quieter now. He said, I believe in protecting citizens' safety. That's not fear, it's responsibility. Denzel nodded. He said, responsibility requires balance. Walls can protect, but they also separate. If you don't understand who we are, the descendants of immigrants, you miss what binds us together. The host said, Stephen? Miller looked at Denzel. He said, maybe I need to listen more. Denzel gave a small nod. He said, listening is where it begins. Understanding is how it grows. The audience remained quiet, absorbing the moment. The host said, two perspectives. One question, can protection and compassion coexist? Denzel said softly, they must. Miller nodded, head bowed briefly. He said, I'll think on that. Denzel stood. He said, thank you for the challenge. Miller stood too slowly, respect lingering in his posture. The host bowed his head. The stage lights dimmed as applause rose, thoughtful, measured, hopeful. This is the USA Liberty. Subscribe if you believe America is more than policy. It's people whose stories demand both strength and empathy. Because real patriotism isn't building walls, it's building understanding together.